In this module, I think the readings definitely inspired my confidence and approach to improvisation and roleplay. Towards the beginning of the module, I definitely found it a lot more difficult to put myself in a scene that was completely improvised. I think the aspect that I found the most difficult was trying to see past my insecurities in performing. The exercises and scenarios we created were completely improvised, which meant I felt so out of my comfort zone being unprepared on stage. It took me a while to develop my confidence, but the readings definitely contributed to this. A particular quote that encouraged me to see past my insecurities whilst performing spontaneously was, "The expectancy of judgment prevents free relationships within acting workshops," which was said by Spolin. It came to my attention that by holding back on a scenario I was faced with, and not fully exploring it, was preventing me from developing my characters and forming closer relationships with them. So essentially, I was standing in the way of bettering myself and my relationship with my characters. Even when I came to this realisation, I was still hesitant when faced with a scenario that was completely contrast to my characters. For example, one of Natalia's characters possessed wide eyes, and her character would always stare at the audience members. During one scene of improvisation, Natalia's character with the wide eyes was paired with my character Lily, who suffers with extremely bad anxiety. This is not a scenario I imagined for a character with extremely bad anxiety. Because mine and Natalia's characters contrasted so massively, I struggled to go along with the improvisation for this scene. I think because I was so out of my comfort zone and my character's comfort zone that I couldn't just give in to the moment and go along with the improvisation. There was an entire chapter in the reading said by Frost and Yarrow that inspired me to see past this. The reading explained that by grasping a moment and giving in to whatever stimulus you're given, you can actually discover more about your character and yourself with the resources given than you did before. So essentially, by taking risks and going along with the resources provided, I could actually develop my character even further. This was definitely eye-opening for me because from reading this, I felt determined to take risks. I was keen to try and fail and see what worked and what didn't, and what I could use as a stimulus for my improvisational pieces and what I really shouldn't use. Another reading that contributed to my confidence of just going with it and trying not to think about the fear of failure was by Johnston and Wardle. They suggested that all great improvisers just go with the flow, there are no limits and no fears, and in doing so, they will continue to grow and develop. This made me realise that I was the only person standing in my way. I was the only one judging myself, I was the only one critiquing everything that I did. So the reading encouraged me to stop being so objective to new ideas, even if the new ideas did seem daunting and challenging. The reading that I found the most entertaining and inspiring was by Joan Littlewood. I actually really enjoyed that reading. There was a particular passage within it that said, "She said the part is for an Irish prostitute. I said, I can't do Irish. She said, where do you come from? I said, Shoreditch. She said, do a Shoreditch prostitute then." The way I perceived it and was inspired by it is that I should create characters that I can feel and see part of myself in. By doing this, when I'm acting as these characters, I'm not pretending to be something I'm not. Instead, I'm enhancing and presenting these characteristics. The approach that I had was creating characters that I would be able to portray as real people. By presenting real people to the audience are able to give into the imagination and go along with what's happening on stage. In order to do this convincingly, I created 4 characters that were a similar age to me. I came to the conclusion that as much as I would love to play an older character, it wouldn't be believable to an audience member because I don't look of an older age, therefore it would be harder to convince them that I was playing that character. Instead, I enhanced features of my personality and lifestyle and created these into characters on stage. For example, my character Lottie represents my musical side, Lily represents my anxiety and my demons within my head, Natasha represents the demons that I have under the influence of alcohol, and Bonnie represents a side of me that would love to go travelling. Although none of these characters represent me, myself as a character, they all represent different parts of my personality. A section in Joan Littlewood's article suggested that you should be who you can be. This justifies the reasoning for my choice of why I picked characters that were parts of my personality. Another section of reading that influenced my choice to do this was by Lecoq and Bradby, who said that roleplay is a reliving experience, avoiding exaggeration and remaining strictly faithful to reality. From both this quote and the experimentation process in the first few weeks of the module, I realised I could only portray what I know. If I wanted to portray a character that I had no experience or understanding with, I'd have to go out of my way and learn quite a lot. Therefore, it would be hard for me to portray a character that I don't have any experience with, because I'd have to recreate something that I have no emotional senses connected to. To conclude, I think the biggest impact that the readings had on my journey were building my confidence and making me believe that there are no mistakes in improvisation, only lessons to be learned.